everyone, and thank you so much for joining. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me. My name is Michelle Nooy. I'm a licensed clinical social worker with Nippenberg, Patterson, Langley, and Associates. I also work at St. Anne's Episcopal School as the middle school counselor. I specialize in working with kids and teens with neurobehavioral disorders as well as technology addictions. Outside of work, I'm also a mom to a 2.5-year-old little boy who you probably will hear in the background, I think like all of us are experiencing. And we're expecting a little girl in 2 months. So if I seem a little out of breath during this, it's because I'm very pregnant. Well, for today, my hope is that we can just have some time together to have a break from the stress, from the anxiety, and just really pour into ourselves and recharge as much as possible. A few things that we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going over some mindfulness activities, some deep breathing, using some visuals, and then I'm going to be pulling some tools from a therapy called EMDR. And this is, again, all just to make you feel good, pour into you. A few things to know is that I am going to be going at a certain pace. This may or may not match your pace, and that's okay. This video is for you, so if you need to pause it, come back to it, great, go for that. The other piece is I would really encourage you to practice using these tools over and over again. Just like if I want to get really toned muscles and I go to the gym and I just do 12 bicep curls and then I'm like, why am I not getting results? Well, as you know, it's because I'm not doing it enough. Same thing with these tools. The more you practice them, the more efficient they become and the more effective they will be. The other piece too, which is the challenge I think all of us parents are facing right now, is find a space if you can where you have limited distractions, you can be by yourself, but I also recognize the reality of you're probably gonna have kids barging in. And I also think that when kids, yell, mom, mom, that's them using echo radar and they will find you. So if that happens, that's okay. Pause the video, come back to it. So to start off with, I think it's really important for us to name what is stressing us out, what is weighing on us. Obviously, this is a huge event that we've never faced before, and it's caused a ton of stress and a ton of anxiety. The importance of naming of what's happening is, one, when we can identify it, we can work with it. The other piece is that in the brain, when we name the emotion or we name the stress, we tame the brain. So it actually causes our brain to calm down. If you want to read more about that, there's a book called The Whole Brain Child by Dan Siegel, which I'd highly recommend, that talks about how naming emotions tame the emotions. So what I want you to do is just really take some time to think about what is stressing you out specifically. Things that I've been hearing from multiple people, it's this fear of the unknown. What's going to happen? How long is this going to last? I have loved ones that I'm worried about. What if someone I care about dies? Worried about financially, how are we going to make it through this? People are getting laid off. It's really scary times. Other stressors include I am wearing multiple hats all at once. I'm a parent, I'm working full time, and now I'm a teacher. And I don't know about you all, with working in the schools, seeing how they teach math, I have no idea how to teach that math. So you're learning all of these new things at once and juggling all these roles at once. And that's a lot. Other things that people might be feeling is just boredom. I am a huge extrovert. I love seeing people. So I am just like, I need to see people right now. My husband, who's an introvert, is like, this is great. I love social distancing. So it just can depend on the person, the boredom, missing people, whatever that might be. The other element that people don't really talk about is grief. We went from having our structure routine, which really grounds us, to everything being flipped upside down. And with that, change causes anxiety, sudden change and drastic change causes even more stress and anxiety. And it's grieving things that might be big, things that might be simple. And with that, it's okay to grieve. And the reality is we are in a new normal right now. And it's how do we embrace the new normal while holding on to, this is a lot and things have changed quite a bit. So take some time for you to just either mentally talk about what are those things that are really stressing you out. And I want you to be specific with them, write them down or say them out loud, whatever works best for you. And what we're going to do is an exercise called radical acceptance. This is the idea of we don't have to necessarily like what's happening, but we need to just accept the facts of reality, what's happening right now. One key that you need to use radical acceptance is if you're doing a lot of should be, or using a lot of should be statements. So I should be able to do this. I should be able to go into work, or I should be not worrying about finances, whatever that might be. That's a cue that we need to just really sit in the moment and just accept the reality, what's going on. Why that's important is for several reasons. One is that if we are focused on how things should be, but we don't have control of it, we're going to drive ourselves nuts. So the visual I use for acceptance is I want you to picture this book representing your problem, okay, whatever that might be. So we do two things typically. One is we either hyper focus on our problem, and that's all we can see, and then we miss out on what's happening around us. The other thing that we do is we get into this push-pull. So it's like, I can't control you, go away. And what happens is it usually pushes back harder. So we get into this battle here. And again, we're missing out on what's happening around us. So what we want to do in acceptance is we're not getting rid of this problem. We're just putting it down and saying, I'm acknowledging you're there. I'm not getting rid of you. And I'm going to turn towards what's happening in the present. So that all sounds great. It's really hard to do. So I want to start off with just a simple exercise of radical acceptance. And thinking about your list of things that are stressing you out or what's weighing you down right now, once you identify the pieces that you can control and what you can't control, maybe take just one element that you can't control. And what we're going to do is work on relinquishing that. Because again, if we're just sitting there doing this, that's not going to help us in the long run. So what you can do is, if you're a visual person, I want you to visualize giving that piece to something that feels big enough or strong enough to handle it. So for example, some people are like, I want to put it in the ocean. I'm going to make my anxiety and stress or things I can't control a rock, and I'm going to chuck it, or I'm going to use a cannonball to shoot it off. Other people like more concrete things where they will write it down on a piece of paper, and then they can either tear it up, burn it, or if you go out for a walk, bring that with you, put it somewhere and leave it there. It's just this act of letting it go and recognizing I can't control it, and this is what's happening. And if that feels too hard to do right now, it's simply just going to the space of I am wanting to let this go, of recognizing you have a choice between I can hold on to this or I can let it go. So just wherever you're at with that, that's okay. I'm going to go with, if you're able to let one piece go, pick again one thing that you feel like you can give up control on. And I'm going to walk you through the visual of throwing it into the ocean. So again, take your time. If you need to pause the video and come back to it, that's okay. Picture yourself writing down on a rock that element that you can't control that's stressing you out right now, whatever that might be. If it feels huge, put it on a big rock. If it feels small, put it on a little rock. And then I want you to picture that you're by the ocean. And it can be a calm ocean if you need it to be a rough ocean where it's crashing into the rocks, whatever that might be for you. And then I want you to put that rock in the ocean. You can drop it in, you can chuck it, whatever that might be. But just notice yourself letting go and just saying, this is how it is. I don't have to like it. And I don't need to hold on to this. So again, take your time with that. If you need to pause the video, do that. And then we've already brought up some other stressors and yuck. And again, this is about pouring into you and you feeling good. And you're probably like, oh, thanks, Michelle. Now I feel really great thinking about everything that stressed me out. So what I want to do next is this activity called containment. And this is where I want you to picture a container. It can be real, imagine, I don't care. As long as it's big enough and strong enough to hold your yuck, to hold your stress. And then you're going to picture where you want to send that container. So for example, my container is a Tupperware, and then I put it in my filing cabinet in my office. I lock it, and then I lock the door. And then for things that are super big yuck, I put a person in front of that filing cabinet to block it. This is not suppressing our emotions or like, oh, I'm never going to deal with this. This is just, I don't need to deal with it right now. I'm going to create some distance between it, and I'll come back to it when I need to. So again, if you are more of a concrete person, pick a physical object in your house, whether that's a box, maybe even a safe, whatever that might be, and put the stress in there for this time and figure out where you want to put it. Again, there's flexibility in this, and some people are like, I need a vault with 12 different locks on it, whatever that might be. I had a Star Wars fan. I loved this. I was like, I'm taking metal and I'm going to take a lightsaber and seal the ends of it, and then I'm going to send it off to Tatooine. So be creative with it if you want to be. So again, take the stuff that we mentioned that we can't control, that's stressing us out, and just imagine yourself putting it in your container. Maybe put it in all at once, maybe one at a time, whatever is best for you. Sometimes a visual of kind of imagining sand coming out of your body that has the yuck is a good one to do, or some people are like, it feels like sludge. I want sludge to come out. Again, whatever you need that to be, and put it in your container. Imagine sealing that container however you need to, and then send it where it needs to go. If it feels okay to have it in your house, that's great. If you need to send it to Antarctica, that's great. The moon works too. So again, take your time with this, and I'm kind of rushing through it a little bit, so feel free to pause and take your time with it. So now that we've acknowledged the stress and put it away for now, let's get into some feel-good stuff. So the first feel-good thing I want to go through is breathing tools. I have to laugh because, you know, how many times people say, like, take a deep breath, and it's like, I will not take a deep breath. And other people will say deep breathing doesn't work. Well, it does. The tricky thing is if we're breathing correctly or not. So deep breathing is really where we breathe into our belly, okay? It's not breathing through our chest. And I'm a huge nerd, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the why behind the deep breathing. So our brain has kind of three main players when it comes to stress, anxiety, and threat. We have this area right here, which is our prefrontal cortex, and that is where we have self-awareness, empathy, we can organize, plan, executive functioning skills, all of those great skills. And then we have kind of right back here, a little almond-shaped area that's called our amygdala. That's our fight or flight response. And what happens, caveman days, for example, is you are walking, looking for berries, and then you see a T-Rex coming. Your brain is going to say, danger, danger, danger. And if I use my prefrontal cortex, then I'm thinking about all my escape routes I can take. What's going to happen to me in the meantime? I'm going to get eaten by the T-Rex. I don't want to be eaten by a T-Rex. So what our brain does is it shuts off our prefrontal cortex and turns on our amygdala, which causes us to get flooded with stress hormones. Our blood will go to our extremities so we can fight off the threat or run away from it. Our heart will start racing. Our breath gets shorter. Again, really great if I've got a T-Rex chasing me. Let's say I can't escape. So then our last line of defense that our body has is down in our brainstem. So we call it our reptilian brain. So way, way, way back in our brain. And that is our freeze response. So that's where you play dead and you feel immobilized. And so that is our last response. And that's where truly our basic functioning in our brain is happening. So knowing that plays into deep breathing for a few different reasons. So nerdy lessons continuing, you're welcome everyone, is in our nervous system, there is one branch called the autonomic nervous system, and it has two branches off of that. One is called our sympathetic nervous system, which is kind of our active, ready to go, seize the day branch. But on the extreme side of it is the fight or flight. The other side over here is our parasympathetic nervous system. This is our rest and digest part of our brain. And then on the extreme side of there is also our freeze response. So a healthy brain is when these two are balanced. It's kind of like a teeter-totter. But what happens as what we're probably all experiencing right now, we're in survival mode. This is scary. So our sympathetic nervous system is taking over. We're in fight or flight. And what deep breathing does is it helps bring us back to a balanced teeter-totter. So one thing to note is that when you do a breath in, that is activating your sympathetic nervous system, and a breath out activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So one thing I want to encourage you is to kind of really check in with yourself. Do you feel like you're just on edge? You can't focus on anything but the threat? Or do you feel like you're numbing out and just kind of disengaged, shut down? Because if you're feeling on edge, that means you need to take a longer or a shorter breath in and a longer breath out to activate parasympathetic. By feeling numb and just kind of shut down and just kind of frozen, you need to do a longer breath in to activate your sympathetic and a shorter breath out. So again, we want this teeter-totter to be balanced. So that's the nerdy science behind the deep breaths and why they work. And to walk you through the deep breaths, I want to do an exercise with you where we're going to first start off with chest breathing, which is what we all do. That activates our sympathetic nervous system, makes us more anxious, doesn't help. So yeah, if you're doing chest breaths, you're going to be more anxious. So what I want you to do is put your shoulders forward, chin down, kind of hunch over, and try and breathe. Just notice what you feel. I know for me, when I do this, I feel tighter. I feel like I can't breathe as much. I'm a little bit out of breath. And I actually notice I feel more anxiety. So as you're doing that, again, just notice what that is for you. You may not notice anything right now, and that's okay. And now we're going to contrast it with belly breathing. So I'm going to show you my big belly. So hopefully you can see that there is some difference in how I breathe, but just to give you a visual. So here, oh, I got to get higher. So here's my belly. I want to breathe deep here. What you will notice, and if you want to do this with me, is put your hand on your chest, put your hand near your belly button, and you want to feel your belly rise more than your chest. So if you were to do this with me, breathe in, breathe out. Do you see how my belly is getting bigger than my chest? I know it's already big, so it's kind of hard to tell. But you really just want to sit there and practice breathing into your belly as deep as you can go. And again, that's activating that parasympathetic nervous system, feeling yourself relax, and just contrast that with the chest breathing. Notice what you're feeling. And I would encourage you all, this is really, you have to practice a ton of just noticing when you're doing chest breaths versus when you're doing belly breaths. One tool you can use to keep practicing the deep breathing, it's called the 9-0 technique. And it's not necessarily you need to count for this many times. I just say start breathing at a pace that's comfortable for you. You don't want to feel out of breath, but just make sure it's belly breath. So the 9-0 is you take a breath in, you say 9, you breathe out, then you take a breath in, say 8, breathe out. And you go from 9, count down each one to 0. But instead of being done, then you go back to 8 to 0. And then 0, you go to 7 and then count down. And that's just a way to give you a lot of time to practice the belly breathing, which I, again, would really encourage you to do. So that's breathing. And I would encourage you to do this throughout these practices that we're doing. The next piece I want to jump into is using some visuals to help us stay calm and feel good. So this one is called the Calm Place. I love this one. This is truly a place for you to feel at peace, to feel safe, to feel comforted, whatever that might be. And again, it can be real or imagined. And what you want to do is just picture what are the different sounds that you need there? What is the temperature? Do you need to be tasting something? I know for me, I love coffee. So in my calm place, I'm chugging some coffee. Do you need a certain colors? What do you need there? And a few rules around the calm place is one, I don't want it to be somewhere from your childhood because depending on your background, that can trigger some yucky memories. And again, we want this to be a safe place for you. And then the other piece is you don't want any people there. You can have animals or characters or maybe historical figures, whatever that might be. The reason for that is, let's say I have my partner there and I love my partner, very supportive, and then we get into a huge fight. Well, guess what just got contaminated? My calm place. So again, just take some time to picture a place that feels safe, feels calm, whatever that might be, real or imagine. And if you want to close your eyes or do a soft gaze, whatever is best for you, but picture yourself going there. And just notice what you see. Notice the smells. Notice the temperature. What do you hear? Where do you need to be sitting? Do you need to be standing? Are you moving? Whatever that might be. And as you're there, I just really want you to take some deep breaths. Notice what it feels like in your body. This should be feeling good stuff. It's possible that there could be some yuck or some anxiety coming up for you with this. And if that happens for you, what I want you to do is take a break from your calm place and take some time to put that yuck back in your container. Again, this is all about feeling good, pouring into you. We got a lot going on, people. So let's feel good for a little bit, okay? So again, just notice that calm place. Notice what it feels like. If it helps you, maybe after this, draw it out, or if you have a picture of it, just anything that will help you. And this is a place you can go to at any time. And one, it feels good, and two, it can help calm down our brain. So again, just for time, if you need to pause this and come back to it, that's totally fine. But we're going to move on to the next one. It's called the healing light activity. And this one, people are usually like, you want me to do what? Again, these are kind of some different visualization tools, but they really work on just kind of being in the moment and calming ourselves down. So what I want you to do is picture a color that represents healing and peace to you. It can be any color, it can be multiple colors, whatever feels best for you. And what I want you to do is, once you can picture that color, is imagine that that light is above your head, or if there's a certain spot in your body that feels super tense, I want you to shine that light specifically on that spot. But if we were going to general, I want you to picture that light is shining on your head, and it's a powerful light. It's going to bring healing. It's going to bring peace in this moment. And I want you to picture that just going down into your head, slowly moving. It's just filling your body up, down into your chest, down into your arms, down into your core, down into your legs, into your calves, and into your feet. Again, that could be too fast of a pace for you, but just take your time. Feel that healing light. Just notice that peace, notice that relaxation. This is for you. And if you need to use the healing light while you're in your calm place, that's great. If it's hard to picture a light just coming through your body, what you can do is imagine it being on a screen and you're looking at it, and the screen is just filling your body up with that healing light and color. So again, come back to this, use this as much as you need. The next thing that we're going to work on is some grounding tools. And these are really great for, especially in the moment when it's like your kids are driving you nuts, it's chaotic. I don't know about you all, my house is an absolute mess. This is just routine structure. I mean, it's out the door, and there's just a lot that's going on right now on top of just practical everyday things. So this is a really good tool to use in the moment when you're feeling just very overwhelmed and you're about to lose it, or just feeling very on edge. So the first grounding tool is noticing, well, you can do actually several different things, is just noticing different things in the room. So I want you to pull your eyes to something in the room that is pleasing to you, and just really sit there and focus on that object. Notice, what are the shapes? Notice, what are the colors? What is the texture? What might that look like? And if you are having trouble just focusing on that, maybe it would help for you to get something in your hands, a tangible piece. So for example, I have fidget putty in my office, and I'll have kids just squeeze that and just notice what that feels like in their hands. It's just really bringing you back into the moment of something that feels comforting, something that feels good. And if that's not working, or you're still feeling on edge, another tool I really like, it's called the counting tool. And you can use colors, objects, letters, whatever that might be for you. And you just take some time. And for example, my favorite color is blue. So if I'm feeling really on edge, I'm in that fight or flight, my sympathetic nervous system is taking over, and I'm trying to breathe, but I'm so stressed out, is I'll go ahead and count how many times I see the color blue in the room. And what that does is it requires logic, so turns us back into the front of our brain. Another one you can do, if you don't see any blue in the house, or any color that you need, or letters, whatever that might be, is start at 100 and count back by sevens. I became a therapist for a reason because I don't like math. Props to all you math people out there. But for me, that requires some concentration just to really think that through. And again, that's using logic to bring us back to our prefrontal cortex to help us calm down. So those are tools you can use right now if you're wanting, or take them with you. Share them with your kids too. We're all on edge. So again, if you're just in the moment and it's like, I'm trying to do the visualizing, I'm trying to do the deep breathing and I'm feeling stuck, go to these grounding tools. Just really try to anchor yourself in the present. Because again, with fear, I'm either worried about the future and I'm worried about the past, but it's really bringing about being in the present. So as much as we can be practicing that, this is really what these tools are about. And lastly, what I want to do is kind of going back to the yuck and the anxiety that we talked about at the beginning, is do something called future planning. And we're going to end this webinar and life's going to start again, or maybe you've had kids interrupting you throughout all of this. And so it's really thinking about, okay, when my stressor comes up, how do I want to handle it? So you feel equipped going into it. So what I want you to do is picture something that you anticipate coming up for you today. That's going to be stressful, that's going to trigger you, whatever that might be. I'm going to go with one that I'm hearing from parents of, I'm trying to be on a work call and my kid needs help with homework and I can't figure out how to help them and the instructions are really confusing. And I also need to get this work call done. So in that case, it's thinking about, okay, that's going to happen. What can you do to help ground yourself, to help stay calm so you can be your best self in approaching that situation? Again, there's grace in this. We don't expect perfection. This is all nuts, but it's just all really trying to prep yourself. So if that's for you, notice what you could be doing to help you. So if that's me, I would do a simple acknowledging, oh, I recognize I'm feeling torn right now between my parent role / teacher role and work role. And I'm feeling this tension and don't know what to do. I'm also acknowledging that I'm feeling stressed out. So simply just start off with acknowledging what's happening. And once you've acknowledged that, what do you need in that moment? How can you best set yourself up for success? So for me, it might be, I need to take a deep breath and just calm myself and remind myself it's going to work out. It's going to be okay. Maybe I'm on this call and they have their kids screaming in the background too. I'm sure they'll understand, whatever that might be. Another piece too is kind of faking it till you make it, where even if you turn to your kid and you're like, oh my gosh, please leave me alone, which I'm going to assume I'm not the only person who's feeling that right now. But it's just even doing a half smile with your kid, showing that nonverbal of I love you. And even if it's just a fake, like, I mean, maybe don't do that face. But turning towards them, smiling, and then whatever you need to ground yourself or setting a boundary there. Again, this is unique to each person. And if you tell your kid not then, tell them when you can do it. That's just an example of what I would throw out, but you go for what works for you. And the key thing is identifying what is your issue, what do you need in that moment to set you up for success? What's kind of your goal of what to happen? And I think a lot of it too is that radical acceptance of we can't be perfect right now. We can't be the best parent, employee, teacher right now because there's a lot. And so maybe it's just in that moment of recognizing I'm doing the best I can with what I have. Give yourself some grace. But again, I would encourage you to take some of those stressors, do some planning about how you want to approach it. If you need some extra tools beforehand just to calm down and ground yourself, go for that. So that's what I have for you all today. And again, I would encourage you to come back to this and use these tools as frequently as you can. This is truly for you. And the more calm you are, the more calm your kids will be. So just remember that. If sometimes it feels selfish of I'm taking time for me, I shouldn't do that. I think that's a lot of the parent guilt that we have. When you do this for you, you're actually helping your kids. So thank you again so much for taking the time to join me today. And if you are a person working in the medical field, groceries, all of those workers who are doing amazing work, I just want to say thank you. And also just to all of you, thank you for the work that you're doing, and we're in this together and there's hope. So thank you.